Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank my friend from California for his management of this rule. Mr. Speaker, since the beginning of 2007, the Democratic leadership of the House of Representatives has shown a strong commitment to the pay-as-you-go rules. First, by reinstating the pay-go rule in the rules of the House on the opening of the 110th Congress, and now in working to bring this important legislation before the House. I applaud the Blue Dog Coalition, my colleagues there, for their outspoken leadership on pay-go. When I explain to folks back home what pay-go is, I ask them the question. I ask them if they have to balance their own books each month, if they have to ensure that they have enough income coming in to cover their expenses. And of course they respond that they do. And I then ask, shouldn't the federal government operate in the same way when it involves spending your tax dollars? My constituents get it, the American people get it. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, there are still some members of Congress who are steadfastly against the idea of being fiscally responsible and balancing the federal books the same way that our constituents balance their checkbooks each and every week. The legislation we will consider later today will require Congress to balance the books or face the harsh consequence of automatic cuts to offset the shortfall in our spending. Now, I certainly appreciate the born-again Republican commitment to fiscal responsibility, but the real question is why the Republicans allowed pay-go to expire in the first place under the last administration. Not only did they not advance the capped discretionary spending, which they are criticizing us for not coupling with the pay-go statute, but they wouldn't even renew the pay-go provision, which we are now doing. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle criticize the majority for the increase in the deficit since the beginning of 2007. One of the reasons for this is that we have put the full cost of the war on the books for the first time. That is a hard thing to do, but it is the responsible thing to do. The Republicans kept this off their budget balance sheet, but the Democratic majority has taken the fiscally responsible approach and placed the entire cost of the war on the books, which adds nearly $1 trillion to the deficit. So to say that we have single-handedly raised the deficit over $1 trillion since 2007 is disingenuous at best. Furthermore, the budget adopted by Congress this year cuts the deficit by nearly 2/3 in 4 years and contains even deeper cuts in deficit than were proposed by the President. Under the concurrent budget resolution adopted by the House and the Senate, the deficit will be cut by $1.7 trillion, or 12.3% of GDP in 2009 to 3% of GDP in 2014. I strongly believe that we in Congress must balance our own books and maintain fiscal responsibility similar to what is asked of all taxpayers in dealing with their own personal finances. I urge all members to vote yes on the previous question, yes on the rule, and to vote yes on H.R. 2920. I yield back the balance of my time, and I move the previous question on the resolution.
All time having been yielded.